Welcome everybody out there in train world, train land, and wherever you may be. It's got a great day ahead of you. Man, we've been busy. If you guys missed it earlier, we were announcing all the cool new stuff that we're going to be coming out with. We got Janik and we got John out. I kicked their development door down and I went ahead and found out what they were working on. And now you see why Janik hasn't been with us and why John hasn't had a chance to really visit with us. They're busy. They're coming out with a new SD90 in Genesis 2. And we're also coming out with California cars. Not to be outdone, though, we are coming out with some AC 4400s. Those will also be in the Genesis 2. So, hey, it's been a great day here at Athearn. And while we're at it, let's see who's out there today. We've got CJ, we got Mr. Terry LaFrance, we've got Alfred, Steve, Gary, JF Rail, Frederick is here, we've got Daniel, we've got Mr. Kevin, George, Joel Ascroft, we've got Nick, Paul. Yes, Paul, it has been a busy day. And let's see, Bob. And let's see, who else do we have? Grandpa Rails, hey everybody, Joseph, Chase, and James. All right, great. So we're getting a good crowd here. We've got a lot going on today. We have got some great stuff for you guys to check out. I've got some special guests here lined up for us today, and I've got something for both HO scale guys and N scale guys. So with that being said, let's do a few more shout outs and get the show started. I've got Daniel all the way from Germany. V Gates. Let's see. We've got Eric, Joe, Daniel, Sean, SP Scotty, Garrett, SNA Line Rail Fan, and Eric. I think I missed Eric. Steven, Bradley, Matt. Matt says N scale. He can't wait. You're going to love it, Matt. We've got a real special treat for you N scale guys coming towards the end of the show, and it's mainly steam. All right. And I want to thank Midwest Model Railroad for showing up too. If you've not been to their website, check them out. They have got everything that you can think of, including Athearn and Roundhouse and ready to roll. So thanks for coming on board today, guys. All right, let's get going. So like I said, we're going to do some HO. We're going to do some N scale. Real quick, I'm going to share my screen here. And we're going to start out with some ready to roll HO scale high thrall cars. And we're also doing these same ones in N scale. Now I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on these real quick so you can see them. Now keep in mind, everything that I'm showing you here today is available both in HO and N scale. Real briefly, the HO, they're ready to roll. They're going to have the separate grab irons. They're going to have the metal wheels, very nicely detailed. And of course, the loads are removable. And we're showing them today, and you can pre-order these. You can get these as singles, or you can get one of three different 3-packs. So if you see here, you can see there's 4 different part numbers for the Burlington Northern. One is a single, and then the other 2 are 3-packs of 3 cars. So for you HO and N scale guys in the 80s, check out the Burlington Northern. Now you remember these. If you're a Burlington Northern fan, you remember these. These were all over the west portion of the United States. And again, these are applicable for 1980s modelers. Coming up next for something a little bit newer in 2006 on up, we've got David J. Joseph Company. Now this again is available as a single and 3-packs. It's going to be real easy to make your unit train with these. Again, for 2006 and on up, we've got 2 here. We've got the Herzog Brown. We've got the Herzog Red and White. We've got these sold as singles, and we've also got them in 3-packs of 3 each. Now, for you guys that are modeling a little bit earlier, you want something out of the 70s, we've got you covered. And we've got the Lake Erie, Franklin, and Clarion, and we've also got Western Electric. These are actually very highly requested from you folks. So you guys that requested these, this will make your day. Again, they're being offered as singles, and they're also being offered in 3-packs of 3. Now we've got the later, mid-1980s, 1984 on up, the Ziegler Coal Company. And that's also available with its single and 3-packs of 3 cars. So the HO scale ones, they've got the 100-ton trucks. They've got the 36-inch wheels. Like I said, separately applied grab irons, really nicely detailed. That load is also removable. Now for the N scale guys, you're going to have the same artwork that you're seeing here, and same errors, same road numbers. But in the N scale department, something that we haven't seen as often with N scale offerings, they're going to have body mount couplers. They're also going to have low profile metal wheels. So that means if you run some of the sectional roadbed embedded track, they'll work fine. But then again, if you would rather you run these on code 55, they work just as well on that. And I can tell you from experience on code 55, these run amazing. So there we have it. We've got some High Side Thrall cars for you from the 1970s all the way up into 2006, and real easy to make a unit train with those. So the next item that I'm going to share with you guys is something that you guys requested last month. You guys are asking for more reefer cars. Now we talked about the Genesis series last month, but some of you guys are like, hey, can you do these and ready to run? Can you do these in N scale? Absolutely. So here we are. Now again, I'm showing the N scale versions here. These are also available in the HO scale ready to run series. Ready to run series, of course, is going to have your grab irons separately applied. N scale, you're going to have all of this fine detail and artwork that you would see in the HO scale. That's something that Athearn really prides itself in. You don't usually see that much detail in an N scale car. So starting out real quick, we've got the Santa Fe as it appeared in the 1960s. We're offering that in 3 different road numbers. We're also offering the Erie Lackawanna. That's also the 1960s, and that's offered in 3 different road numbers. We've got the Northern Pacific, and that's a really cool scheme. I know you guys that model the Western roads, you're going to want to pick up a few of these. 1960s, 3 road numbers. And of course, we had to do the Pacific Fruit Express, 1960s era, 3 different road numbers. And check out the Nrdx cold train. That is really cool. This is 2006 plus. So this is somewhat newer than the other offerings. This would be the newest out of the bunch. And again, these are offered in 3 different road numbers. And last but not least, you knew we were going to do the Tropicana cars. You just knew it. We had a lot of requests for the Tropicana orange juice train. Here you got it. Now in the N scale, again, they're going to have body mount couplers, metal wheel sets, and they work great on any code 80, code 55 without any issues whatsoever. Now that Tropicana car, that is appropriate for modelers that are modeling the 1970s all the way to about 1986. So pretty cool. So again, if you've been eyeing something in both HO and N scale, we've got something here for you. So pretty cool. And don't worry, for the fans that are waiting on the Genesis FEF, we're going to have a special episode for that coming up. We wanted to get some N scale and HO out there for you guys. And I have another special treat for you. We're looking at getting you're looking at getting your GP18s and some other neat stuff here in the not too distant future. So I wanted to give you guys a heads up. And I'm going to try something here. Let's see if we can get the rail yard camera working. Hey, there we go. And let's go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, so what we've got there is the new GP18. This time I've got it in the Burlington Northern. You knew that was going to happen. Burlington Northern is one of the more popular brands that or roads that we carry. And I gave you guys a sneak peek on the Amtrak. I don't have any pictures of that just yet, but let me see if I can get some good pictures for you. It's always fun to see these work from you know, a model like this. But let's get some really good pictures up there real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and introduce you to our special guest. So let me go ahead. Got some great pictures of the 1996 that we just talked about, and there it is. So again, these are Genesis GP18s. They should be at your dealers really soon. If you pre-ordered one of these, you should be getting a phone call from your dealer. Now, this is really cool. 1996 is a former Northern Pacific GP18. We know it's a short nose front because of the barricade stripes that Burlington Northern put on their locomotives, because they did inherit some first generation Jeeps that had long hood forward. Northern Pacific, though, they kept their short hood forward. And we're also offering a Northern Pacific, or a former Northern Pacific in Burlington Northern colors. kind of an early patch job. So if you're running Burlington Northern, you're going to want to pick up both of those. This just goes to show you some of the detail. This one's got the rotating beacon. Not sure if the video picked that up real well, but you've got the Northern Pacific bell. It's a dead giveaway usually. You've got your winterization hatch. A lot of nice details. Great running locomotive. We actually ran a few of these at a recent Fremo event and got some good video. Hopefully we'll have some of that video up a little bit later on our social media platforms. And then you probably saw the covered hoppers. Here's the Penn Central version. It's the first one that was in our video. And of course, some more Cascade Green. We got the Burlington Northern. Also in the Genesis line. If you pre-ordered these, again, your dealer's probably going to be contacting you really, really soon. Because if you didn't pre-order, well, hopefully you can still get on board and get one. So if you didn't pre-order either the GP18s or these Genesis, these gorgeous center flow covered hoppers, talk to your dealer now, because they are going to go quick. Yeah, Joel, I didn't take the handbrake off because it's gone. That locomotive's gone. It just went on. It went to Galesburg. That's where it went. It went to Galesburg. So there you have it. Great locomotives. I've ordered a couple of the BN ones myself, and looking forward to playing with that on the switching layout. So speaking of switching layouts and all that, I know I had told you guys that we've got a special guest here today, and I'm going to bring Tony on board here. Let me go ahead and Tony.
Hey everybody. Hey Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Boy, those GP18s look nice, and you could see that amber beacon came through on the video all too.
It did. Good. Well, that's that's just one of those details that those developers I keep bugging put on their locomotives and stuff, and it's great. I foresee you probably looking at one of those Northern Pacific GP18s in the future.
I like it, and I bet you, although it's playing that NW, the early 70s Norfolk and Western, I think is in that group too, and those tend to get me. That I'm sure a trip into Midwest Model Railroad there in Independence is going to be well, they still got one. I'll go ahead and take one because I could probably use it.
There's always room for one more.
Always room for one more. And those little air slides look nice too. Those are such nicely detailed cars. Those
are great. I mean, if you've got a home layout, or even if you got a really nice club layout that you can go to, I mean, they present really well. You know, they look great. My home switching layout is set up rather high, and that way you can see all that detail, and they really do look great. The only thing you really need to do with them out of the box is maybe weather them up a little bit, but most definitely really good. You know, speaking of good models, you and I have been talking last few weeks, and we've been working on some stuff, and I kind of teased everybody with some N-scale steam. You want to tell us a little bit more of what we've been working on behind the scenes, Tony?
We have got today with us, and I know a lot of N-scalers are going to know this person, and he's a regular contributor at Model Railroad News. He's a fellow Missourian. Ron Marsh from El Dorado Springs, Missouri, is here with us today, and look what he's got.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, how are y'all doing today?
Hey, that looks great, Ron. That looks like you were able to pick up one of those big boys from Athern.
Well, I got one shared with me from Model Railroad News, so getting the opportunity to take a good close look at it. And I actually just got my hands on this one less than 24 hours ago, but I've gotten a good week's worth of play value out of it in the last 24 hours. I'm one of those guys, I'm a modern BNSF modeler. I have no reason to need a big boy on my layout, but oh my gosh, I want one of these. They're absolutely beautiful models. They've got the soundtrack Tsunami 2 sound, and the sound is just spectacular, and it's been a ton of fun here, and I can't wait to get some more video of it and share that out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, Ron, real quickly, for those that may not know, tell us a little bit about your channel that you have on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, on YouTube, it's Ron's Trains in Things. I started off kind of doing a lot of in-scale stuff, but I've been going for about 4 years and branching out more and more into HO and other scales. Primarily, it's a how-to channel. So I as I'm working on my own layout or find projects or processes that I learn from and find fascinating, practice those, work on them a little bit, and share them out with folks. I've always been a model railroader who was kind of a lone wolf, just because I always kind of lived in small towns and didn't have a lot of other model railroaders around me. Learned by reading from magazines, and I know how much I would have benefited from having YouTube in my day and the availability of folks to kind of show us how to do some things. And so I'm just trying to share that out with some other folks through the marvels of modern technology.
Yeah, I mean, that's great.
Awesome. They're great videos, Jim. I don't know how many you got to see, but like the couple of recent ones I really liked. There's one where Ron goes through like just household items that he uses in train stuff, which I thought was such a neat video. And then the track cleaning one, I learned a ton of stuff in it, that things I did do, things I should be doing, because my poor test loop, while I don't have a model railroad, man, this 4x8 gets brand new locomotives all the time, and between oil and other buildups and things, I get all kinds of things on this track. And that kind of stuff is just awesome and applies to every scale. So from scenery to that kind of track care stuff, it's an awesome channel to check out.
In fact, my most recent video that came out just today was literally how I built this little diorama that you see.
Oh, very cool.
So, yeah.
Which is nice. I said, that's great. I need about 2 of those in HO. We need to talk. So I see Ron a half dozen times a year or so in Kansas City, like at the hobby shops and stuff. But it's like, well, I'd really like to. I need to build a couple of those because I'd like to have some of those. That is nice.
That's very cool. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the YouTube really helps out modelers, you know. And I think my wife is still not speaking to me because I did watch Ron's video on taking things. Apparently, you're supposed to take the covers off after you've used the product. I skipped ahead a little bit. Then got to watch the whole video, everybody. Otherwise, you'll make sleeping in a doghouse like I am.
I did put that disclaimer in the video. Ask your wife before you take her compact mirror.
So you, like you said, you've got a video where you've built this module, and it's very impressive, really nice. And man, it really does show the scale of the Athearn Big Boy. Tell us a little bit more about what you found out about the Big Boy, what you like about it, and all the neat features.
Well, first of all, of course, you know, again, we're talking about N scale, and so everybody thinks N scale, you know, it's small. This is a locomotive, you know, typically, even with a steam locomotive in N scale, I can grab the locomotive and the tender in one hand and move them around. Even in N scale, the Big Boy is a massive locomotive. It is definitely a two-hand job if you've got to pick this thing up and move it. It has, you know, quite the heft, and I haven't really had an opportunity to test, you know, how much it will pull on my layout, but it has had no trouble pulling anything that I've put behind it so far. And I'm fairly certain with the traction tires and the weight that it has, it is be a fantastic puller. You get it. I don't know how well. I think the lighting here you can see pretty well, but the detail is absolutely stunning. And if you can get it in the right light, you know, it's black, so shadows are always a problem. But you get the right light, and boy, those details just jump out at you. It looks absolutely fantastic, and it's been a lot of fun to run and a lot of fun to pull. And again, I love listening to the sound of it. Hard for N-scale speakers to do justice to a steam whistle. That just is what it is. I was fortunate to get to see 4014 when it was in Kansas City back in November of 2019. That seems like so long ago. If you've ever heard that whistle up close and personal, first of all, your ears are probably still ringing. And I'm not sure there is a speaker in any scale that would do it justice, but in N scale, the Tsunami 2 sure comes about as close as you could possibly get. So I've been really impressed with it. Again, both the way it looks and the way it runs. It's been a fantastic model here, and like I said, look forward to getting it back over in the layout and playing with it some more.
What are the, Ron, I forget, what are the curve radius on your railroad? Because I know with it being articulated, you can get around tight curves, but like what's your rail height and what kind of curves have you been running it on?
Yeah, one of my concerns when I knew that the big boy was coming was how will it run on my layout? I've got moderately broad curves at N scale. Mine are 18 inches on the main line, and it has had no problem on any of those. And I've even had it on the switching lead for my main yard, and that's a 16-inch curve, and it navigated that without any problem. A little bit of overhang. You'd probably want to watch your track spacing if you were going to, run it on a layout with curves quite that tight. But it will take them, and I haven't had problems with it jumping the track anywhere yet. Haven't put it on the ground yet. So
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and Tony, a couple of weeks ago we had a Fremo / Ntrack get together here in Central Illinois, and I had one that we use for our photography, and we put it on the Ntrack layout, and we let it go, and we let it run and run and run. Honestly, it just kept running, and we just left it running all day. It was such a crowd favorite, and if it can, how those Ntrack layouts can be. Sometimes they get in storage, and sometimes track isn't as good as our home layouts. And man, this thing just kept right on track, and it was great.
And now I think the traction tires, I remember looking at them, there's traction tires maybe on the back set of each set of drivers. So
correct.
2 axles have got tires on them to help for the pulling.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that last count we were pulling a full passenger set, and for whatever reason, a bunch of our new LPG tank cars, just to see how much it would pull, and it was getting to the point where it was as long as the small Ntrack layout we had. So,
and this one
really fun to see.
This one we have on display is the coal tender, and these are 1940s in service look.
Yeah, this one's number 4011 with the coal tender. Yes.
And there's
what I'm going to do
numbers for those, and then there's the 2 4014s with the oil tender in the promontory race and the excursion one, and we'll have both of those. That's our September cover for Model Railroad News. Will be the videos and work from Ron and our assistant editor Shane Mason and Justin Sobek. So I've got a team of in-scale guys that are all going to tackle the big boy.
Yeah, you've got some great stuff coming up, and I mean, this is one of those things that you and I, Tony, have been working on, and then Ron got involved, which that's always a good time. It's really exciting to see what is coming out, both HO and N scale, but a lot of folks are really excited about the N scale big boy. And I mean, it's, at the risk of sounding cliche, it's a huge release. I mean, they sold out quickly. As you know, Tony, I tried to get one and they were just gone. So that's why I always tell our fans out here, if there's something you see on Train Tuesday that we're talking about and you have till the end of the month to order, you're going to need to make that pre-order, or else, you might not get it.
Now, the stuff that you announced today, that's not part of the regular monthly packet. This was just news. It's not in a regular pre-order thing yet. The SD90s, all that's just kind of surprises.
Yeah. So what has happened there is, for, as you probably know, Tony and Ron, if you've watched the show, I like to knock on the door of the developers and say, hey, we got to do an SD90. Hey, we got to do an AC 4400. And you just keep knocking the door. And they finally just, Janik and John, the new developer, they just locked their door and ignored me. Because, I mean, it's like a kid in a toy store, right? But the cool thing is John approached me and he says, you know what, let's kind of open that door. Let's see what's in development. That's kind of what we did today. So what we announced, if you didn't catch that, if you're watching this on the live feed, once this is over, go over to our YouTube channel. It is archived there. The announcement is on the all-new Genesis 2.0 SD90, the new California cars, also in Genesis, and the Genesis 2.0 AC 4400 that we're getting real close to saying when we'll be taking orders on those. So, yeah.
I think the California cars, if I remember Athearn Train Tuesday, why won't you guys make those California cars? I hear that over and over. So anybody that thinks, oh, you asked for that stuff and they never make it, right there, it's like, hey, that one guy with the California cars, he's certainly getting his now. That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, the AC 4400, that was another one that was highly requested. And a few months ago, we started a product suggestion email, and those were based on those product suggestions. So, I see over here in the corner, I see the comments. Joel says, the reason why my developers locked the door is they had steak and they weren't sharing. In the Midwest, we have steak and shake, and I wouldn't share either, but that's, yeah, it's one of those things where we're really excited to announce those. And it was all because of what our fans in the comment section, on our emails, all of that had requested. And, at the end of the day, that's why Athearn's here. We want to make what our fans want. And it's always good to see, the reaction when somebody finally sees something that they really want. They get excited about it. So, yeah, lots of fun. And of course, like everything, there'll be more updates as it becomes available.
Back to the big boy, I was wondering I know there were some changes between runs, I think. It's got LED lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that right, Ron? And it's directional too on the LED lighting. The tender's got a backup light.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and it looks very correct. I mean, you could easily get that too bright to look right on a steam locomotive, and I'd say they've got the brightness just right on it. The color, is fantastic. Yeah, looks really good.
And I forget now. I remember there's the cabling runs between the locomotive and the tender, because some of the sound and electronics are also in the tender. But there's a drawbar on it too, and I can't remember if it had different settings. Like, is the drawbar one notch, or can you bring it in closer on the tender and locomotive? I forget if that had how some of them have that multi connection, but I know that they're hooked together. Oh, you don't have? I was just curious. I couldn't remember looking at them. I looked at one. We were doing photography on that sample. Oh, that's not mine.
No, that's mine.
That's not mine either. I'll tell you what we'll do is, Ron, I'm going to minimize myself and Tony, and that way everybody can see just how pretty that looks on your module.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And there, you can get the whole locomotive in there and see some of the details. And yeah, the light's pretty good. You can really get an idea of some of the details along, all the side rods, the piping along the side. It really is a beautiful locomotive. As far as that drawbar is concerned, I'm not 100% sure, Tony. I don't. I'm a modern day guy. I'm not used to messing with these steam locomotives.
I hear you. I have not had a chance to even, I ran that one a couple of weekends ago, and I got so busy with the GP18s with the Fremo guys that I let one of my colleagues go ahead and run it. So yeah, we'll have to get back to you on that. But
and the finish on them is awesome. That one has, again, it's an in-service. But didn't you think, Ron? I love you got the gray up front at the end of the boiler, and then there and before the cab underneath. I was amazed just how well all that looked. And boy, wait till you see that excursion one we got. That's just, that cleaned up, shined up. Man, it is really awesome.
Yeah, and when you get the light, for photography or video on this one, when you get the light, it's just that right angle to where you light up the side of it. But it doesn't shine in a toy-like way. It shines in kind of a prototypical way. So it's kind of I'd call it kind of a satin shine, and especially on the gray up on the smoke box. It really does look sharp.
And that is, as you said, that was exactly what I was thinking. That these very easily a little too much, and they become toyish looking.
Right. Yes.
But you do want them to have a nice look, so you don't want it to be flat or dull. And yeah, I thought that both the coal-fired one with the 1940 setup, and then the restored one that is supposed to be shined up because it's for the current stuff, both had really nice, authentic looks to them.
Yeah, that really is neat. Hopefully, I might have to talk to to one of our our dealers, maybe Midwest has got some of these in N scale I can talk to, because I missed out on mine. I was bad. I didn't listen to what I say, and that's when there's a pre-order, you got to grab them. I'm looking out there to our fans. The fans are really happy about a lot of this. I want to get some shout outs out there, guys. Let me know if you've got the Athearn Big Boy. If you've got the N scale one, then yep, throw me up N scale Big Boy. I got one on my layout right now. And HO guys, I know we sold some HO scale ones not too long ago too. If you got a Big Boy in HO, throw us a shout out there. So, Tony, back to what the collaboration has been. I know you've got Model Railroad News is going to be covering the Athearn N scale Big Boy. Tell us a little bit more about it and how you're working with Ron's Trains and Things.
What we're going to have like that one for our September edition, we've got the two models. We've got the one Excursion 4014 restored with oil tender, and then this coal fired, so we can show both. That'll be the September cover. And we have one of the HO Big Boys from a recent run that our contributing editor, Tony Lucio, is doing a review on it. So HO guys, I thought it'd be nice to have both the HO and N, because whenever a company does both, that's one thing I always think of is, well, did they do the same thing with the N scale, or what are some of the differences between the two? So whether it's your scale or not, it's always fun to go, oh, here's how they did the other version of the model. And so we'll have an HO on display, and then we'll have the coal and oil fired Big Boys. Ron's working on a video, so we'll have a video that you'll be able to see of that as well. And then, as I say, it's a cover story. So it's kind of that whole package of things. And we've been working on some of those, for different reviews of late, where Ron might do the review and give us a video as well. So that then as you're reading the print edition, you'll see a thing that says, like for suggested viewing, go take a look at, a video that we've got up on Ron's channel, because it's got such a great audience and everything. It was one of those, I was thrilled, when I presented that idea to him recently, that'd be awesome if we kind of work together on some stuff. And since we're kind of local in the Missouri, area here near Kansas City, that kind of works out well. I do know that Midwest did not get any Big Boys because they were not an Athearn Horizon dealer when those were up for pre-order. Okay. So they don't have them. I know we got the Excursion one from Lombard Hobbies, Jeff and Andrew there in the Chicago area. I checked them, and I think I saw a posting at Otter Valley in Canada. I thought I saw them post something, and I remember seeing some Big Boys on a shelf above what they were showing. I'm like, hey, they got some N-scale Big Boys. So I would say Otter Valley might be a place to check. Always Spring Creek in Nebraska would be another. But yeah, and I'm not sure on like Train World. Again, they were really popular, and that does get frustrating, and it hits us all on those kind of things. I don't know how many times I think, I'm going to order that, I'm going to get that. Then it's like, oh, that's out. Oh. And then I'm calling everybody. I just need one. I don't know why I say I just need one, as if, okay, well, we'll sell you one. I thought you were going to ask us for 6 Big Boys. Somehow that's always please when as I get on the phone with one of those, I just need one. But yeah.
And don't forget too, we still have some really, if you're fortunate enough to have a local hobby shop, if you have one that's within driving distance and they're Athearn dealer, check them out too. Give them a phone call. I know my little tiny hobby shop here in Central Illinois. A little shout out to McLean Depot in McLean, Illinois. They've got one of these N scale 4014s with the sound. So I probably just sold the locomotive I was going to buy. But if you're looking for one, they have one left. So. Check your online retailers, and of course, just check if you're lucky enough to have a neighborhood or close by hobby shop, check with your dealer there too.
Most definitely, yeah.
Well, great, Ron. I'm looking forward to seeing the video on this, because I've seen your video work with all of your other N scale projects and railroad projects, and really entertaining to watch and very informative.
Thank you.
And Ron, I think you got such a neat layout, don't you think, Jim? I mean, I love when I see the bridges, and as he does all that stuff, that was one of the other things is I like to see the in-action stuff. And when he does the run through the layout, you get a couple of different locales and kind of get to see above, below, over for the locomotives. So
the presentation's really nice. I mean, it's really neat, Ron, how you did that, and it really presents well. Give a shout out too, real quick, for your channel again, in case somebody missed it.
Sure, it's on YouTube. It's Ron's Trains in Things. That's a letter in Things, and appreciate everybody checking it out. Yeah, you mentioned running across the layout. Running the big boy today through the mountain section of my layout made a lot of sense. I got a lot of comments whenever we ran the New York Central through the mountains about, that didn't look quite right, but my layout is what my layout is.
I think you're more about contemporary. If I remember right, it's contemporary and kind of BNSF, but Western U.S.
Exactly. It's I modeled primarily the Wichita Falls subdivision in North Texas. But when we moved to this house, my wife agreed to allow me to build the layout in our family room if I would include some mountain scenery. So I have some kind of fictitious mountain scenery. That's the freelance part of my proto-lance layout. So North Texas and a little bit of Colorado that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, very cool. Very neat. Yeah.
That is cool. Now, Ron, too, you just, if memory serves me correctly, you just reached a YouTube milestone. Is that correct?
Just past 38,000 subscribers this week, as a matter of fact. So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
That's amazing, Jim. I mean, when I see these things and you see the people, that are looking at this stuff and getting in, and that's subscribers. I mean, that's not just somebody that clicked by or looked at something, but yeah, I mean, Ron has done a tremendous job there, and all of this is so great for the hobby. Because again, as Ron said, being a small town person, and so am I, it's not like, oh, there's 4 or 5 of us here in town that are all model railroaders. So unless you're at a hobby shop, it used to be you didn't get that kind of interaction. And now between Facebook, I mean, we post all day on different things like the Fans of a Modeler's Life, the podcast, and that. It is like, hey, I got all my train buddies are here all the time between YouTube and Facebook and everything. That the connections we have now are awesome.
And that opens so many doors. I mean, here, it's probably been a couple of years ago now. I was needing to build some trees, and I really, really wanted some sagebrush to build trees with. Well, there is no sagebrush in Missouri, so I just kind of threw it out there on Facebook. Well, one of my YouTube subscribers, who is also a Facebook friend, said, I've got sagebrush by the truckload right in my backyard. So he literally went out and packed about a 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot box, about as tight as you could fill it with sagebrush, and shipped it to me for the cost of shipping. And I'm still building trees out of that box. So yeah, those connections are such a valuable asset. Don't want to take those for granted.
Yeah, they really are. Definitely. Well, hey, Tony and Ron, this is usually the part of the show where I think last week, Tony, I think we technically broke the curse, but this is the part of the show where we do some rail fanning. You guys up for some rail fanning? And Ron, you want to stick around for some questions that some of our fans may have for you?
Sure, be glad to.
Okay. And we're not gonna be too long, everybody. We're gonna just see what is out there. And I checked before the show, and
there were trains running.
There were trains running. We've tried the Midwest the last few days. We sat for half an hour, I think, Ron, at Santa Fe Junction. How can you ever sit at Santa Fe Junction and see nothing?
I know. Did they tear something down? Yeah.
No. By the time we were saying goodbye, a lonely pair of switching units started crawling towards us, and it's like, too late. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's usually your one absolute sure bet is Santa Fe Junction.
Always something, yeah.
Well, I figured, we'll go, to the east side of the United States. Usually Horseshoe Curve is pretty active, and I'm sure it's going to be active today. I'm not gonna let anything put the iceberg in front of the Titanic, if you will.
Boy, I like those clouds. That's an awesome backdrop they got.
That is a nice shot.
I was just looking at that thing. Boy, that really would look good behind my 4x8. I like that. Yeah.
Well, Tony, I didn't want to tell you this, but actually, I've decided to give up on BNSF and Boston and Maine CB&Q. I'm actually going to do early Pennsy, and that's my backdrop. How about Horseshoe Curve? Yeah.
That'd be fun stuff. Pennsy had such a wild roster. If a diesel was made, Pennsy probably had.
They had a.
So yeah, it would be a fun railroad to model. Yeah.
So folks out there watching us, don't be shy. If you've got a question for myself or Tony or our special guest, Ron, by all means, throw that up there. If you've got questions about the announcements from earlier, that's fine too. We'll answer those. I'm looking out there in comment land, and hey, there we go. We got one from Fred.
See one coming.
Yeah.
I've watched Ron's channel. Got to binge watch tonight. There's a lot to learn and enjoy. Nicely played. Thank you, Fred.
That.
You know what it is, and I always think I've seen, because I know Ron and I watch a lot of those. I always think, oh, I've seen all those, and then something will come up in YouTube or I'll be searching. I'm like, oh, I've never seen that video, and then I end up watching. And it was only done years ago. I'm like, well, where'd this one come from? He must have been hiding this. But yeah, he's got little videos out there on all different things.
Getting ready to have a lot more scenery videos as I work on getting ready to do backdrops on this new section of my layout. So I'll have some backdrop videos coming up real soon, and then working on. I covered this in kind of a time lapse fast fashion, but made the promise when I get to the layout, going to be doing some more up close detailed videos on specific steps of building scenery, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Now, Ron, with that module that you've got there, I meant to ask you earlier. Now, is that all wired up? Can you actually turn the locomotive on, or is it just a photo prop?
Right now, it's just a photo prop, but it would be really easy to just drop a pair of feeders.
Sure.
Actually has one track joint, and I didn't put any rail joiners on it because I actually may come back and put some in-scale fish plates on that. I mean, if you're going to make a photo diorama, you just want to make a photo diorama, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it would be really easy just to drop a couple of feeders. It's just 4 feet long, so a pair of feeders would do it.
Definitely. Here's one for you, Ron. I'm going to put it up there from Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
It says, Ron, you have a great layout, and how long have you been working on it?
That's a little more complicated question than it sounds. I started building the layout in 2011. I had just some personal issues that caused me to take about a 2-year hiatus in there. So whatever that is, I probably about 7 or 8 years altogether. I would like, and I would normally hope to have made a little more progress on it than I have in that amount of time. Doing the video thing keeps me working on the layout, but it also slows me down because, you got to take time to do all the work it takes to film and then edit. So it keeps me working consistently, but it doesn't necessarily speed things up.
Yeah, no, I bet. I mean, sometimes it's, well, actually, Gary's got a good comment I'll throw up here. Gary says he builds an HO. However, I often learn some neat stuff from Ron. A lot of his techniques are multi-scale. Plus, I get inspired from watching his stuff, and then I go down to the train room and finally work on something. Well, that's a good compliment right there. It gets people motivated.
That's a big thing because I can't tell you how many times over the years I've had some time to do some modeling, go down to the layout room, and then just kind of wander around for an hour trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? What am I motivated to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to have that I don't have to do what I need to do? So yeah, just getting started is a huge thing. So appreciate that.
Definitely. Tony, what else have you got working on in the background there? I know you are working for the magazine. You're always busy and you're working on things all the time. Anything you want to tell our fans about that you've covered lately?
One thing that we are adding to HO Collector, we got really good response from in our second quarter issue. I featured that Amtrak What If Gevo as a future collectible. And I said, because again, if you're collecting stuff, new stuff's always on your radar. And so we are adding to HO Collector. That's going to be a regular feature now that'll be up front by the letters section. That'll have future collectibles. So if there's things you're looking for, or maybe weren't, oh, I missed that. Because you always hate that when you find out afterwards. When did they do that? Oh, I'd have gotten one of those. So like the Athearn and Horizon anniversary cabooses I have in that first issue and such. So even though they're not vintage models, as most of the stuff in HO Collector is, that this will like be heads up on, hey, this or that's being done. And like that's one of the things being covered in it. The other thing I saw, I think the latest issue that's out now, the June one, I've had a number of people on I did the piggyback flats with, I think it was your 40-foot, those recent trailers. And then this was HO, and we had Train Works, and then that die-cast metal Atlas flat. And I was amazed because some of that, like your trailers were new, but like that flat car wasn't necessarily. But I put that together and showed it, and I've had more people. You never know on certain things. You know, when you get an issue, you don't think, oh, I'm going to hear a lot on this. And then sometimes what you think is the big shiny item is like, yeah, they did, but I didn't get a whole lot of feedback. And then something like that I thought, well, this isn't, you know, anything really wild, but it's a nice piece. I've had a lot of guys that said, oh, I really like getting to see those trailers. And I forget now which, I'd have to grab the issue, which those were. That was that group with that Boston and Maine, the Missouri Pacific. And I forget what was the other one that I showed that you did, but the trailers in HO, and I forget what that prototype was, but that's in our June edition. You can go to modelrailroadnews.com and it has information on the various publications. But it's always interesting when something like that you kind of think of as a side item, then suddenly, well, those are the first things that I got a string of emails of, oh, that was cool, or oh, I didn't realize those were out. But
yeah,
it was neat. Yeah.
No, it's funny how the legendary liveries, as we call it, it's very polarizing. You know, we've got a lot of folks that are very in tune to what they want to model and how it should appear, and then we have other folks that are like, it's my railroad, it's my rules. So if I want a CB&Q, you know, ES44, I'll have one, and we actually do really well selling those. So yeah, we'll keep doing them, and if you missed out on the recent runs, don't worry, our developers are hard at work at seeing what else they can do. So don't worry.
Those are always fun. And this is a good question for Ron, because being primarily in scale as an HO guy, Ron, I get the, you know, again, seems to be an HO mentality of no, it has to be prototype. You know, if you're going to paint like that, a Burlington, you know, red Gevo, oh, you know, is this Tyco or Lionel? No, we can't, you know, we want, everything's got to be perfect. But like in scale, you guys have got like the in-scale enthusiast group and such, that in-scale always has all these neat models. So do you think is there kind of a different mindset in in-scale? That how is that? It seems like that's more, you know, you don't get that, oh my gosh, it's a Pepsi can Gevo. That's, you know, quick, get me a mallet. And it's like, you know, no, come on. It's like, oh, this is so cool. But what do you think of it in-scale wise? Is that a different mindset?
Well, I think you've got both sides of that coin in scale. I mean, I think you have the guys who are you know, really into the novel stuff. I think especially right now of the microtrains cars, like, you know, the solar system box cars that they've been doing here of recent, and been seeing a lot of those lately. And you got some guys who are really into those, but you've also got some pretty prototype modelers in N-scale too. So I think there's the same dichotomy in N-scale that there is across the hobby. Maybe a little more so, maybe a group of N-scalers that are a little more akin to like the toy train guys, you know, who are more accepting of the unusual stuff. Me, I'm more of a prototype guy, but you know, I've got a couple of cars on my layout that would probably fit into that more novel, you know, kind of a thing as well. It's not my usual taste, but once in a while I'll see one I'm like, yeah, I gotta have that. So
yeah, that's how those always seem to hit you, isn't it, Jim? I think that when I see, it's like, okay, yeah, that's silly. Well, wait a minute, I think I need one. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, totally. I mean, you know, when we did the legendary liveries ES44s, you know, personally, I'm not as much of a modern guy. I'm more, you know, my N-scale layout is firmly set in 1967. But then you see a really cool ES44, and no offense to Ron and BNSF fans, but that's the way BNSF should look, red and gray. Yeah, you know, exactly. And, you know, that's the way it is. And a lot of that tends to cross over by scales too. It really does.
Well, of course, I'll show a little bit of my bent here, I suppose. But I wasn't originally necessarily a fan of BNSF or any of its predecessors. I was a Mopac guy. I grew up along the Missouri Pacific. My first layout was a Missouri Pacific layout. It just so happens that I lived in a BNSF town from 2000, from 1996 to 2000. So in the early days of BNSF, when literally you could see 12 different paint schemes going through there in a day, and it was that variety that kind of drew me to start paying attention to BNSF. And of course, then I lived in North Texas where I model, and that's what really drew me in. But it was that variety that, hey, I could be prototypical and have seemingly anything on my layout by modeling this road in this era. It's made for a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really, you bring up some great memories too, Ron. I mean, early BNSF I liked as well. I had first moved to Illinois, and seeing not only the range of different colors of the predecessor roads or experimental paint schemes, if you will.
Sure.
But seeing what they threw out on the road. I mean, you saw all kinds of different stuff in the late 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, you're right. It was a really cool time to be a rail fan.
One of my favorite things from that era was the small town I lived in had a fairly large grain elevator, a regional grain elevator that would build unit grain trains over the course of weeks and then send them out. And BNSF occasionally would send a switcher up to help work that grain elevator. And one day I was driving by, and there is a high hood GP9 in Heritage 1 paint scheme, freshly painted, switching the grain elevator. I'm like, I never thought I would see that, but there it was.
Yeah. Really cool. Looks like I got a few questions here. Here's one for Tony and I. This is from Anthony. He says, why isn't a lot of Northeast corridor equipment made like New Jersey Transit, electric like Athearn doing a GG1 or a Conrail Slug? Well, Anthony, that's a good question. A couple of different things that we have to factor here at Athearn. There's a couple of things we got to factor. One, what is the customer demand? Now, like the AC 4400 that we just announced this afternoon, that was a lot of requests. And we don't get quite as many requests for certain items as we do others. Another thing, too, is sometimes we look at what other manufacturers are doing. And there is some New Jersey Transit stuff out there currently made by other manufacturers. So we don't want to, basically clog up the market with the same repetitive things. Now, that being said, if you were able to catch us this afternoon, both Janik and John and all of our developers, we're committed to make more stuff that you guys are looking for. So if we get enough requests for any of those things, you just might see it happen. What do you think, Tony? A Conrail GG1?
Wow. I don't know. Electric stuff, it's odd. I don't, there is a market for it. There are a lot of companies over the years that have made them in both HON and other scales. That's a good question. I don't know what I would say percentage wise, or, guys that are modeling who does catenary and, models electrics. I'm not sure. Like Ron, I don't know anybody in our area in Kansas City that, of course, we're in the wrong area of the country. But yeah, right. I don't know anybody that's electric fan. They're always neat when I do see models of them and such. It's certainly it's a fun concept. I loved, like, you think Northeastern corridor, but like was it Black Mesa and Lake Powell? Some of those that operated in the Southwest that had those big GEs with the unit trains. Those are always fun prototypes too. So yeah, electric is kind of an undiscovered country. Oh, my Star Trek just showed there. But, anyway, it's kind of one of those. I think that's kind of an underserved area maybe compared to steam and diesel but even traction for that matter. I've got a buddy that does O-scale, like traction stuff, and there was a lot of that around at one time. But I mean, prototype, but model wise, never really been heavily done by anybody. So whenever you think, everything's been done, it's like, there's whole big areas of railroading that could still be tackled. Yeah.
Not to be forgotten either. Milwaukee Road, of course.
Oh, yeah.
They had a lot of electric. I mean, you're right. It's one of those things. And the beauty of living in this modern age is, things that we only dreamed about in the past are actually being produced. And so again, if we get enough through our product suggestion email of, hey, I'd like this, and we get enough of those, we'll play your song, as they say. Let's see. I've got. I'm going to look through the comments here. There were some good questions coming up. Let's see what else we've got. Man, they're so hard to choose from. Got a lot of folks asking for Amtrak electric, the Acellas, the AEM 7s, the HHP-8s. Definitely pretty cool. What else do we have up here? Oh, Joel was also chiming in on the electrics. He said Milwaukee Road box cabs. Yep. British Columbia Rail.
BC Rail. Yeah, those put my mind. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
That would be awesome. Let's see. We're getting requests too for the Rock Island blue and white Jeeps again. So I wonder if there's going to be an announcement in the future where I talk about those. We get a lot of requests for those.
The Rock Island's, I think, one of those perennials. You know, you got to have, and there's so many different schemes for Rock Island. You can go back to the early black and red rocket freight stuff, you know, up through Bankruptcy Blue, and I love it all. And a lot of times all of it could be in one consist.
Sure.
But yeah, Rock Island's, that's such an awesome railroad.
It really is. I see a couple other questions out there asking about layout swag, meaning, you know, different shirts, things of that nature. We are working on some stuff in the background. We've put a lot of energy into our announcement that happened this afternoon. But keep tuned in. We will be announcing some stuff here, hopefully sooner than later. And then I saw some other questions about the California cars. So right now we've made the announcement, and what we're going to do is, as more information becomes available, we'll go ahead and throw it out there for you. So stay tuned. We'll have stuff on social media, and we'll probably have some updates from the guys on future Train Tuesdays as well. So definitely, yeah, I'm pretty excited about those California cars.
Yeah, and I remind me on those, are those bi-level cars?
Yes.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay. Because somehow I missed that. I was busy this morning, and I completely missed this announcement, which is like, oh my gosh, how did I, when you started saying that, it's like, whoa, how'd that get past me? What was I doing? I know I didn't watch Price is Right this morning, so I wasn't wasting my day. What was I? But yeah, that's, wow. And speaking
now, Ron,
of
how about you?
Flag stuff, yeah, let me ask Ron this real quick here, Jim.
Yeah.
On your, I can't remember if it's on your YouTube page, because some of this stuff that you talk about and recommend, then it's like, well, where do I go find this? Because some things is obvious. But don't you, is it a link, I can't remember, on YouTube or something, where some of these like scenery or other, if you're working or talking about tools, there is a link or something. Where is that?
It's through Amazon. I'm an Amazon influencer, which means most of my videos I'll have what I call the Amazon pick of the week, and as often as possible I try to make that something that I've used in the video that then you can go get on Amazon. But nearly all of those items are listed on my Amazon page, which you can find by going to amazon.com/shop/Ron's Trains and Things. And there you're going to see several pages kind of divided by category of things like soldering tools, scenery materials, scenery making tools, structure, adhesives, all kinds of different things, kind of divided by category. And they're the products that I use and that I enjoy, and glad to share them with everybody else.
And I think that's a nice thing, because Jim, I don't know how many times I'll see a video and think that's neat, but where do I go get that? Whether it's a kitchen thing on here's the best way to make lasagna. It's like, well, where did they get that pan though? I don't know where to get one of those. So yeah, it's nice to that's handy to, because then when I get excited about it, it's like, well, I've looked 3 different places. I can't find one of those spatulas that'll make perfect hamburgers on my grill. So yeah.
Exactly.
Here's a little piece of news that's kind of along that front. I made that video, a track cleaning video recently that you talked about, Tony, and talked about No-Walks ID as a track treatment that can help the electrical conductivity on your layout. And I have it under good authority that that's going to be carried very, very soon at Midwest Model Railroad. It's going to be added to their inventory. So
I heard that too, and I'm going to try it out. I don't know, Jim, if I think you probably saw that track cleaning one, and I've heard of that. In fact, I know who is it that told you about that, Ron? He's a modeler here in Kansas City.
John Atchison is the one that told
Yes,
me,
yeah.
and John Percy, who is another modeler in Kansas City, I think was the one who actually shared it with him. So that's been apparently popular with some modelers there in Kansas City, at least some N-scalers. Those are both N-scale guys. So.
And I've heard that a couple of times on putting that substance there on your rails, and then it kind of gets distributed around the track. So I'm going to give that a whirl. I'm going to try this on the test layout and see what it does. So it's always fun to learn or try something new like that.
Absolutely.
Really is. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on board today. It's been great. Ron, thanks for coming on board. And definitely, if you have not seen Ron's channel, Ron's Trains and Things, I think we'll probably be seeing a little bit more of you, Ron. What do you think?
I'd be glad to join you anytime.
Excellent. Tony, thanks for joining us again today. Always a pleasure to have you on board. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out of there so we can all say our goodbyes. And any last thoughts, guys?
Springtime, and everybody always says that's, like it's not model railroad season. But as I say, model railroad season is 365 days a year. There's no day that I'm not doing something train related. So this is a great time of year to work on that kind of stuff. In fact, this is the time of year you can take some of it outside. Don't you think, Ron? Like the styrofoam, instead of making the mess in the house, take it out in the driveway and cut stuff up, and then you just sweep it up and you're done. Yeah.
Exactly. And part of the reason I made this diorama so I can take it outside and take photographs of models in the natural sunlight, which is a lot of fun. And to build on what you just said, Tony, it's always model railroading season, and I'm not allergic to them.
Yeah. Very good.
Excellent point.
Very good.
Excellent point.
Can't top
well,
that.
Guys, thanks once again for coming on board. Everybody out there in the comments, if I missed you, I apologize. We had a lot going on today. Just remember, I try to read all those comments. Look up for some future shows, and I'll usually get back to you. But, right now, I think the best thing to do is to let all of our fans out there go check out Tony's magazine, Model Railroad News, to see the stuff that we've talked about here today, and then go to Ron's. Go to his channel, check it out. Get you inspired. It'll get you inspired to get working on a layout. If you've got a layout already, it'll get you inspired to go ahead and keep working on it. And like Ron said, you're not going to be allergic to it. I want everybody out there to get some modeling done, have some good times. I will see you folks all next Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Until next time, everybody out there, be happy, be healthy, be safe, and high greens, everybody. Take care.